Making it happen, and we so passionate.
That's right.
With dental training, growing your dental practices every single day. Gotta keep rising, be a better version of you. We call it Kaizen. Yeah, practice biopsy. Going up, no stopping. Yeah, practice biopsy. Let's go.
Hey, Practice Biopsy, it's D'Angelo here, and I have a amazing guest to introduce to all of you today, and this is Dr. Bob Pick. All right, Dr. Bob Pick is a well-known dentist in the dental community, whether we're talking about Dentistry Today magazines or if we're talking about in the Facebook groups. He runs the Purple Cow Wow Dental Facebook group, which we'll talk a little bit about today. He's a popular practice coach, speaker, best-selling author, entrepreneur, practitioner. Bob, I didn't know that you were periodontist. I thought you were a general dentist, so I just learned something new even to me reading through your bio. Bob has some really cool team building things he's going to talk about today too. Something we're going to touch on is the Pick Business Team Building Retreats, and we're going to just really dig into all the value that a dentist can add to their practice. Now, when we're learning about how to improve our practice, sometimes we have genius ideas on our own. Sometimes we learn these ideas from others. So today we're going to talk to Bob and see if we can transfer some of his wisdom to the dentists that are listening today. See if some of you listeners can have your dental practice and maybe even broader life improved by some of the topics that we talk about today. So Bob, I'll let you say anything about yourself that you want to. We are going to talk about some super powerful secrets to become a super successful dental practice owner and also Purple Cow Wow. So feel free to introduce yourself a little bit. Where are you practicing? How long have you been practicing? And why were you driven to create the Purple Cow Wow brand?
Yeah, by the way, for those nice introductory comments, as we talked about earlier, I have that $10,000 Zelle payment coming to you. And
Thanks.
let me turn my notifications on. There we go. And first off, honored to be here. And as a cool thing, I changed about 2 weeks ago. I changed the name of my Facebook group to help dentists massively super succeed from Purple Cow Wow to Purple Cow Dental Wow. And I was hoping my new t-shirts showed up. They're still on the way. Because branding, people, is something that is huge. I recently retired. I was in practice for 42 and a half years.
Congratulations, Bob. I didn't know that.
And somebody in practice, 42 and a half years, had gray hair and reading glasses and things like that. And hang on. Something else that's so important, people, is when you do a Zoom call like this, I thought I had it on the options to do things, like I'm using a virtual background. I didn't check. I have a green screen box, which I do. It's right here. And if you notice, if I move my cup around, it kind of disappears. And so I'm going to hit, I have a green screen, and all of a sudden the back of my chair shows up. And if I move my cup around, you don't see it disappear. And, or as my buddies from New York would say, they go, Bob, it's not disappear, it's disappear. I'm like, okay. And but if you ever told me when I was your age in dental school, my residency, my fellowship, my first 20 years in practice, 30 years, that I would be known as the Purple Cow Wow guy, I would have looked at you and said, you cuckoo. And you never know where time takes you. And my friend Nathan Ho, who runs the Dental Win-Win site, was the one that branded me. And so I think as we get rolling here, I think it's important to quickly talk about where did Purple Cow Dental Wow come from?
Yeah.
And the reason I put dental in is most people, Purple Cow, they just pass on by. Long story short, there's a New York Times bestseller from a while ago now, guy by the name of Seth Godin. And the The book is called Purple Cow. It's a very small book, maybe 110 pages. I joke, number two bathroom breaks, you got the book read. But the moral of the story is, if you're up in Wisconsin, every cow is a black and white cow. And if all of a sudden you saw a real purple and white cow, purple cow, there would be traffic jams, news helicopters overhead, people taking pictures. We're live over the Anderson Farm in Madison, Wisconsin, where there's a purple cow. And we'll be right back after this message from Gillette Track 2. So the moral of the story is, you got to learn to stand out in a remarkable way. And if you go to the Purple Cow Dental Wow Facebook group, on the left it says super powerful secrets to become a super successful dental practice, but right below Purple Cow Dental Wow, how to stand out in a remarkable way. When, as a practice coach, which I never thought I would be, when I go to websites, almost everybody says the same thing. Their website doesn't stick out. We do CERAC, we do Invisalign, we do intraoral hemorrhoidectomies, about this one, about that one. But what's different? What do you do different? And so to begin, you got to separate yourself from the competition. And if I can go on for a second here.
We're here for.
Without boring everybody, a long time ago, I bought out my practice partner, about 1996-ish. Just wasn't working. Great guy. I would sit in his chair if I had to. So we split up. I said, I don't care if you're in the same building. But I realized right away, I had no idea how to run a practice. I was like the public relations person. He's more serious than me. He was running the practice. Our overhead was cuckoo, all kinds of stuff. I signed a secrecy agreement, and I hired one of my mentors, coaches. And when I lecture people, whether it's an hour after dinner and all day, I have the Pick Group Top Secrets to massive success. Top secret number one, mentors. They're huge. And my mentors have changed over time. The unbelievable Jim Rohn has a great quote. You're the sum of the 5 closest people you surround yourself with. So I always joke I'm screwed. But I hired a secrecy agreement. I can't say who the coach is or who the dentist is until he passes away. Great dude. Everybody knows who this person is. Within a year and a half, our systems went vertical. Our overhead went to a normal thing. I realized, man, again, without boring everybody, in 1983, 2 months out of my residency, right place, right time, I was the first person in the world to ever use a laser in the mouth. I co-wrote the first textbook. It was in 14 languages. I left lasers a long time ago for ethical reasons that probably wouldn't be an ethical reason today. But without boring everybody, I realized I had been to a Fortune 500 meeting. Jack Welch, who was the head of General Electric at the time, he's dying. The GE's not a Fortune 500 company. He wanted to know what lasers are, and he wanted to get in the laser business. And I came back and I said, there's a reason a Fortune 500 company does these biannual retreats. And I started the PBR, Pick Business Team Building Retreat. And I wrote on it in Dentistry Today, which is use retreats to become a Fortune 500 dental business. It's the second most read article in Dentistry Today, which says something. I'm chasing a Roger Levin article. I keep telling him, dude, look in your rearview mirror, because I'm going to go past you pretty soon. So really quick, here's what you got to do, people. You got to start with your premier PBR, Pick Business Team Building Retreat. You got to go away from the office.
What happens at the retreats, Bob? Give me like the anatomy of a pick style retreat for a dental practice? Someone wants to
Yeah,
make their own version of it. What does it
yeah,
look like? How long does it take? Give me the anatomy.
it's what I'm rolling into. And you got to go away from the office so there's no distractions. And you sit down and it's your premier PBR. The first thing you got to do as the practice owner is talk to the team and explain why you're there, what you're going to do. And the whole other story, you got to have the right rock star team that's there with the right personality profiles for the right position. But one of the first things you got to develop is your practice mission, your practice vision, and your practice culture. And at every subsequent retreat, every 6 months, you got to look at your mission, vision, culture and make sure it's correct. And every one of your team members has to know that mission, vision, culture code. Because if you don't know what your mission is, your vision, where you go, and your culture, you're not really going to know what you're going to do. When we're done, go Google Simon Sinek's Why, WHY. It's called the Golden Circle. You got to develop your why. Every dentist knows what they do and how they do it. Yep, I know how to do a crown prep. I know how to make it happen. I know how to seat it. But most businesses don't know why they do what they do. And if you sit down with the team and develop your why at that premier PBR, patients will never go anywhere else. You'll get 100% case acceptance. And again, go to that YouTube thing, the why. When Apple hired Simon Sinek, they went vertical and they become a company that was traded on the stock exchange. Simon Sinek's why. You then have to teach your team how to read scientific articles and have a couple that are relative to what you're doing. You Zoom a couple awesome surprise guest speakers, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, that can come in and help you do things, motivate things, that sort of stuff. And that's also where you practice verbal skills when you talk to patients. So as a quick summary, you got to pretend you're a Fortune 500 dental practice, but also a Fortune 100 dental practice company to work for. You got to set yourself away from the competition. And I guarantee most people listening to this have never done a team building retreat away from the office. So develop your why, learn the golden circle, mission, vision, culture statements, scientific articles. Again, without boring everybody in the morning, as we pretend we're a Fortune 500 company, I begin, and then each department talks. My office manager spends about 10 minutes going, what's happening? And then I have the hygiene department talk, what's going on in hygiene, things we need to do. Then the assistants. And here's a biggie, people. I don't care if you're a specialist, general dentist, I don't care if you do intraoral hemorrhoidectomies. You got to have something called a PRC/SMC, Public Relations Coordinator, Social Media Coordinator. I don't have time during the day in practice to do my social media. And you got to be on Instagram and Facebook. And be aware, an older generation is going to be more apt to be on Facebook, a younger generation, Instagram. I don't want to bore everybody. There's all kinds of apps. You can post on Instagram, automatically puts it on Facebook. That public relations coordinator also does things for you. As a specialist, she goes and bangs on all your general dentist door. As a general dentist, that public relations coordinator goes to the specialist you work with, brings in a box of cookies, and she's gonna get to know the front desk person. Hi, Joe. As you know, I'm Gene, and I represent Dr. Giangelo's practice, and we're so awesome glad to be working with you. And I want you to know, if you ever have a patient that doesn't have a general dentist, we want to be the one you send to. And here's our business card. Here's our trifold brochure. And then the other cool thing that PRs, that public relations coordinator can do is go to medical offices today. I'm looking for something, especially cardiologists, due to the mouth-body connection. If you have a patient that has dental issues, we want to be it. Here's what a trifold brochure looks like. Got to have one of these. It opens up. It talks about where you are, who you are, your website, your logo, awesome team photo right there. About you, about the practice. Long story. And you develop this at your premier PBR. And this sits in little things that hold it. We have two of them by the front desk, one in the patient bathroom. And when I lecture, I got a funny slide. It shows a bunch of these in the morning, like 25 of them in the patient bathroom. By the end of the day, there was one left. And again, verbal skills. A hygiene patient says to you, wow, Vanessa's the best hygienist I ever had. Just you guys are such a great office, and your verbal skill is, wow, Jim, I so appreciate that compliment. It's patients like you that make us happen. And with your permission, there's another great line. With your permission, reach into my pocket. I'd like to give you one of our, what we call trifold brochures. And if you know somebody that belongs here, please give this to that person. And you give it to them. So at the first PIC Business Team Building Retreat, that's kind of what you do. And I don't want to go on that. There's so many other things I want to talk about in a few minutes. I want to talk about in a second the superpower of video. And I want to teach you all the super powerful secret that will be your number one return on investment. And before I go any further, because I like talking, D'Angelo, anything from your end?
Yeah. So when you do the retreats, I know it's somewhere outside of the office, but where are you going? Are you going to like a log cabin? You going to the beach? You going to a hotel? You going to a restaurant? Where are you going? And how long in terms of time duration are the retreats?
Yeah. I borrow Alan Stern's credit card from Better, Richer, Stronger. No. And you got to find places near you. A long time ago when I started it, we rented a room at a Hyatt hotel 8 minutes from our practice. And I paid for breakfast for my team and lunch. And they didn't charge for the room. And so it's an all-day event. It starts at like 8 o'clock. Everybody has to be there at 7:30 for breakfast. There's lunch. There's a lunch exercise. There's team building exercises. And then it ends at about 4 o'clock. So it's an all-day event. And look this up, people. When you do your retreat, look up the team building exercise called the snake. It is the coolest thing on planet Earth. And so it's an all-day event. I eventually joined what's called the White Eagle Golf Club, which was 3 stoplights from my office. And that's where we went. And let me tell you, my team not only looked forward to the team building retreat, everybody came away so excited. And when I lecture, I show some of the things. Oh my God, nobody's ever done this. I came away so with an endorphin high. I can't wait to see everybody at the practice tomorrow. So you got to do a PBR. It will separate you from everybody else. You will go vertical right out of the gate. Vertical. But you got to have the right team. Am I boring you yet?
No. You mentioned the purple cow. So if you see the purple cow, everyone's going to stop and look, okay? What is your thought process and maybe even some examples of creating these purple cows within a dental practice? So what's an example of a dental practice purple cow experience, and how do you know if you've got one?
Yep. You always got to have a purple cow with you. Always. And by the way, when you do that premier PIC Business Team Building Retreat, Another thing you got to do, because this will lead to it, you got to develop your brand. What do you do better than anybody else? And look up USP, unique selling proposition. Most dentists don't know what they do better than anybody else. But once you do that, you develop your purple cow wows. And
From the brand.
from the brand, you do it at each PBR. And again, at each PBR, everybody had a squeeze ball and a light bulb. And if somebody came up with a great idea, it doesn't matter where you are, you put up the light bulb, everything stops. I want to talk about one of the biggest purple cows that you can ever do. But here's another thing. I have a quote. You can tell 1,000 people to do something, and one out of that 1,000 may do it. And you can tell my passion. I'm going to tell you something now. If you don't do this, and I find out you're not doing it, I'm going to come and find you and make you do it. It's called the triple PVC, Pick Post Procedural Video Check. And go to Dental Economics. I published on it in 2018, the triple PVC. Again, it's a video, people, engages 1,200 times greater than text. And if D'Angelo had $1,200 in his pocket and you multiplied it by 1,200, you got $1,000,004. 1,200 times greater. So here's what you got to do. The night of your practice day, you got to go home with what we call your call sheet. It's a sheet where the assistants write the patient's name, home phone, cell phone, the procedure done. Anytime you've done anything that involves an anesthetic injection, occlusal adjustment, seating veneers, taking out a tooth, you call that patient the night of the procedure. And I usually do it. I used to do it because I'm retired on the way home. Hi, D'Angelo. And I would say, it's Bob Pick. I'm calling to see how you're doing from the bite adjustment we did on that bottom molar. I know we had to numb you a little bit. How you doing? And, oh, I'm okay, blah, blah, blah. And don't forget, my office phone is 24/7, blah, blah, blah. Here comes, and that blows people away. And most people don't do that. Here comes the blowaway. It's an orchestrated event. And you got to do a morning huddle. Right after the morning huddle, the majority of my team would leave our conference room. I would position myself behind some awards behind me. My assistant, Nina, would grab our phone stabilizer. One of the assistants, Gosha, would bring her copy of the call sheet and put it right in front of me. And here's what happens. You put your cell phone on the stabilizer, you hit record, and it'll go like this. Hi, Gene. It's Dr. Bob Pick, and I'm here with my amazing team, Nina, Gosha. And we call this our post-procedural video check. And never fun to sit where you're sitting, but we want to make sure you're doing okay from the procedure yesterday. Everything went so smooth from my end. And any problems, day or night, 630-898-5575. Our number is 24/7. There's someone that answers. Should never take me longer than 6 minutes to get back in touch with you. This is my personal cell, 773-230-5211. Please feel free to text back. Let me know you're doing okay. See you next week. From Nina, bye. See you next week. From Gosha, bye. See you next week. All right, bye. Thumbs up, hit the stop record button. Make sure the video is of 59 seconds or less. Some carriers don't let a video that's over 60 seconds roll. Then you don't send it right away. You wait till it's almost lunchtime, 11:30, 11:45, 12 o'clock, and you send the videos. Let's say there's three of them. And I'm going to see if I have it. I have a pre-recorded like thing. Hi, Michelle, and you change the name. It's Dr. Pickendine checking on you. Please see the video with an exclamation mark. And then you put that there, you put the video on, and you send it. One, it's a blowaway. You cannot believe the responses you will get. OMG, no medical professional has ever sent anything like this. I showed it to everybody I work with, and two people want your business card. A blowaway. So the video check, you got to do it. And again, whoever's watching this, I guarantee 1 in 1,000 will do it. And, if you want a copy of the call sheet, reach out to me. I'll send it to you. We have them. If you want a link to the article, you can't find it. It should be pretty easy. I'll send it to you. The PIC post-procedural video check. And you got to do it. It's a mind blow, period. And so it's things like that that you develop that separates you from everybody else. And do I got time to go into something else?
You do. I think we've got time for one more broad topic.
Have I bored you yet?
No, never.
All right. I talked about earlier, and if you're just somehow coming on, go to the beginning. Mentors, the PIC group number one key to success. You always got to have mentors. One of my earliest mentors was Pete Dawson. A lot of you know his name. He was an occlusion dude. Pete passed away about 2 years ago. And one of the greatest things about pioneering lasers was being on the road with all these people. And one of the greatest things Pete taught me, Gordy Christensen, Goldstein Garber, all at the same time, was something called the DISC personality profile system. Huge. And when whoever was first on phones, usually my Annie within 5 seconds could tell you what the DISC personality profile was of that person on the phone. And really quick, someone with a high D for DISC is a driver personality, my way or the highway. I don't talk politics, Donald Trump. It's huge, going to happen, goodbye. I stands for interactive or expressive. That's my high profile. And F stands for steady relator, calm. Ooh, I don't know, D'Angelo. That's a tough decision.
Mm-hmm.
And C stands for calculating or analytical. Somebody that's a computer analyst, Mr. Spock. So you can pick it up on the phone in 2 seconds. Annie writes it down. When that patient walks in, you must be Jim. We've been expecting you. I'm Annie. She reconfirms that profile. The assistant that brings the patient to what's called the preclinical interview confirms it. So when you meet that patient, you know what their personality profile is. You can't be them, but you can imitate them. And when you can relate to somebody and build a better relationship, your chances of 100% case acceptance are huge. And what goes along with this, the final thing, another thing that Pete taught me, and boy, when he took you under his wing, he had this image of being very religious, and the blank word came out of his mouth every 5 seconds. And he's like, Bob, if you don't do the preclinical interview, bam. I want you to listen to this, people. This is like the video check. This is a huge return on investment. Everybody meets a new patient in an operatory. Hi, Bill, it's Bob Pick. Welcome. I met every new patient in something called the preclinical interview educational conference room. a room about half the size of an operatory. And the system brings the patient in, sort of like a little desk, all kinds of awards. You let them sit there for a few seconds. If it's a driver personality, I am in there in 2 seconds. Hi, D'Angelo, Bob Pick. Welcome to the practice. We're going to get moving right away. And so I meet that patient there. First thing they see is a computer screen. Dr. Pick's educational slides 2025. They see our mission right to the right, our mission, vision, culture statement framed. There's the trifold brochures. Welcome to the practice. I am so glad you are here. And again, if I have somebody that's very analytical, and we can tell from the medical history, computer analyst, Jim, sorry, I'm 37 and a half seconds late. I want you to know, I know you're going to need an implant. I have 47 articles if you want to read them. And I also want to let you know that when we put that implant in, we're going to be able to 3, 4, 7, 5 microns from every osteoblast. So we have incredible statistical success. And some preclinical interviews could take 10 minutes, a half hour. But the last question I ask is, before Sonia was with me for 34 years, before Sonia brings you to a treatment room, do you have any questions for me? Questions about our practice? Oh my God, no. No one's ever met me like this. Can we get started? And I haven't even examined the patient. So I know this is stuff you're not taught in dental school, but I don't think it's dental school's job to really teach you business because they don't know if you're going to be an associate or practice owner. And I wish social media existed a long time ago when I was D'Angelo's age. It's so cool we're doing what we're doing right here. So
It's really
a lot
amazing.
more, but you guys get the idea. And go to dentistry today. Look up use retreats to become a Fortune 500 dental business. Go to dental economics, the triple PVC. I guarantee if you do it, of which most won't, you will go vertical with practice growth, and you will become one of the most successful dental practices, clinicians you could ever imagine.
I love to keep these right about a half hour. Believe it or not, we're already over 40 minutes in. So
Oh my God.
time really flies. I'd love to have you on again, and I'll come on your show anytime you want me to. I think we do have a great mentor-mentee relationship. I really look up to you in so many ways, and I appreciate your time coming on here, Bob.
My pleasure. So happy you do what you do.
Absolutely. Thanks, friend.